Arjuna said, My dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled together in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and many sages and divine serpents. Text 16. Aneka bahu daravaktra netram pashyami tam sarvatonanta rupam nantam na madhyam na punastavyadim pashyami vishveshwara vishvarupa. Translation. O Lord of the universe, I see in your universal body many, many forms, bellies, mouths, eyes, expanded without limit. There is no end, there is no beginning, and there is no middle to all this. Text 17. Kiritinam gadinam chakrinam cha tejo rashim sarvato dipdimantam pashyami tvam durmishayam samantat diptan alarka dyutim aprameyam. Translation. Your form, adorned with various crowns, clubs, and discs, is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence, which is fiery and immeasurable like the sun. Text 18. Tvam aksharam paramam vidivya tvam asya vishvasya param nidhanam tvam avyaya sashvata dharma gopta sanatanastam barusho manto me. Translation. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the best in all the universes. You are inexhaustible, and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of religion, the eternal personality of Godhead. Text 19. Anadi madhyantam ananta viryam ananta bahunam shashimuryamunitam
pashyami tvam dipta hutashavaktam satejasa vishvamidam tapantam.
Translation. You are the origin without beginning, middle, or end. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are among your great unlimited eyes. By your own radiance, you are heating this entire universe. Text 20. Tam tvaya kina dishascha sarva dishvardubam papagram tavidam lokaptrayam pravyatitam mahatman. Translation. Although you are one, you are spread throughout the sky and the planets and space between. O Great One, as I behold this terrible form, I see that all planetary systems are perplexed. Text 21.
Amitvam surasanga vishanti kichid pita svajalayo yunanti svasdityakta moshasita sangha stuvanti tvam stuti pushkalabi.
Translation. All the demigods are surrendering and entering into you. They are very much afraid, and with folded hands they are singing the Vedic hymns. Text 22.
Rudraditya vasavo yecha sadya vishveshvara marutas choshma pascha gandharvayaksha surasya sangha vikshanti tvam vishmitas chaiva sarve.
The different manifestations of Lord Shivas, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadhyas, and the Vishvadevas, the two Asvins, the Maruts, the forefathers, and the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, Asuras, and all perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder. Text 23. Rupam mahate bahuvakta netram mahabaho bahu rupalam bahudaram bahudamshagalam Vishvalokam pravyatitataham. Translation: O mighty armed one, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your many faces, arms, bellies, and legs, and your terrible teeth, and as they are disturbed, so am I. Text 24.
Svisham diptamanekavarnam Vyatanam diptavishalanetram Trisvaitvam bhavatitam atma
Tritim Atvidyami Tanam Vishnu. O all-pervading Vishnu, I can no longer maintain my equilibrium. Seeing your radiant colors fill the skies and beholding your eyes and mouths, I am afraid.
So we'll return to text 14. Then bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna began to pray with folded hands, offering obeisances to the Supreme Lord. Purport. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Once the divine vision is revealed, the relationship between Krishna and Arjuna changes immediately. Before, Krishna and Arjuna had a relationship based on friendship, but here, after the revelation, Arjuna is offering obeisances with great respect and with folded hands. He is praying to Krishna. He is praising the universal form. Thus, Arjuna's relationship becomes one of wonder rather than friendship. Great devotees see Krishna as the reservoir of all relationships. In the scriptures, there are 12 basic kinds of relationships mentioned, and all of them are present in Krishna. It is said that Krishna is the ocean of all the relationships exchanged between two living entities, between the gods, or between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. It is said that Arjuna was inspired by the relationship of wonder, and in that wonder, although he was by nature very sober, calm, and quiet, he became ecstatic. His hair stood up, and he began to offer his obeisances unto the Supreme Lord with folded hands. He was not, of course, afraid. He was affected by the wonders of the Supreme Lord. The immediate context is wonder. His natural loving friendship was overwhelmed by wonder, and thus he reacted in this way. Yes.
Yeah. Of those 12 relationships, 5 are direct and 7 are indirect. And although whichever relationship one has with Krishna, he's satisfied with it because it fully fulfills his desires, but still there's, the great devotees have pointed out there's a type of hierarchy, and when the five higher rasas, the direct relationships, beginning with neutrality. So this neutrality it also has some aspects of wonder and appreciation, kind of a meditation on the Lord. So the impersonalists, when they try to meditate on Brahman or light or something, they're trying to get into some kind of a meditative state like that, where they appreciate vibrating one with the energy. Because Krishna is Brahman, he is the energy and the Brahman effulgence does emanate from him. And the living entities who wish to stay in that relationship, they can enter into the Brahma Jyoti. become part of his effulgence. And that way they can feel their oneness with him. As one goes higher in devotional service, higher meaning more service and more appreciation for the personality of Godhead, then he wants to serve more. It's not that he's serving as a Brahmajyoti particle, but he thinks maybe he can do more than that. So he gets the mood of servitude, wants to be a servant of Krishna. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he's an assistant or a devotee of Krishna, but service to him as a servant is very satisfying. Anyone who's ever had the opportunity to render even small service, they take it with great pleasure and satisfaction to be able to do anything as a servant. And in Krishna, because he's the reservoir or the ocean, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he's the reservoir of all rasas, he can reciprocate perfectly with the living entities who wish to relate with him in that way. Like Hanuman. Hanuman's a servant of Krishna. He doesn't want any other relationship. He doesn't want to become his friend. He doesn't want to become his parent. He just wants to be a servant. He wants to be given orders, and he'll do the work. He'll do the service. He's completely satisfied. And he's a famous devotee, Hanuman, because of that mood of servitude. He doesn't envy anyone in a so-called higher position. He's just satisfied. And after that, the next relationship is friendship. And there's different types of friendship. There's a kind of friendship filled with awe and reverence, where they're very happy to have Krishna as their friend, but they see him as just so great, so everything. So they're in awe, and they treat him like a superior. And another type of friendship is more casual, you could say, or without any awe and reverence. And they think of themselves as being equal with Krishna. They wrestle with him. They ride on his shoulders. If they lose they had games, and if one party won, then the other party would have to carry the losers on their shoulders. And sometimes Krishna would lose, and he would carry some coward boys on his shoulders. So that's not very respectful, putting your feet on Krishna's, around his neck. Certainly not. It doesn't befit a devotee, we would think. But devotees in that level of friendship, Krishna doesn't want them in any other relationship. He's fully satisfied with them in that relationship. And everybody appreciates. Although they appreciate great devotees with different relationships with Krishna, they don't envy them. They just appreciate them. And that's the way it should be. And they respect others. Everyone's thinking, this devotee is so fortunate. He has such an intimate relationship with Krishna. He's so much loving Krishna and serving him. He's able to do so. So they're appreciating that. And that devotee is also thinking in that way about other devotees, how fortunate they are. In this way, you can have a world without envy, because everyone is satisfied with their relationship with Krishna. Krishna knows how to satisfy his devotees. Bhaktavatsala. He knows exactly how to fulfill their desires. He knows everything. He knows what they're thinking. He knows what they want. And he likes to fulfill their desires. And he does so in such wonderful ways. Just like even in Vrindavan, Krishna has relationships with some of the old mothers, grandmothers of the coward boys. It's a very funny relationship they have. For example, Krishna may just insult them. He may insult their looks. And then they respond, not by becoming angry, but they say no. Like if Krishna says you're like a monkey, they're like a monkey. And then they may say, well, I'm waiting for the king of the monkeys, Krishna, to come, and I'll only be his consort. So they have this kind of funny, insulting relationships. So he has all kinds of rasas. There's one story that I like. It's in the Garga Samhita. That one of the coward ladies, it was out of love. She was in love with Krishna, but she wanted to catch him because he was stealing butter all the time from her house. So she thought she complained to Shoda. Shoda said, just try to catch him and bring him here red-handed. So she thought, she caught him once, had butter all over his face, hands and face. She said, okay, this is it. I'm going to take you now to Mother Yashoda, and you're going to get punished. So he was going along with her, and then as they began to approach his house, he acted like he was really afraid. He didn't want himself to be seen even, covered his face. And so finally, the lady comes in and she says, Yashoda, I've caught him red-handed. Here he is. Feast your eyes on the thief. She took off the thing. It was the lady's son. It was the coward, her son. Everyone was laughing at her expense, and she couldn't understand what. And then she looked and she saw her own son. And then everyone made jokes with her as she was leaving, saying, better get your eyes fixed or something. So she was bewildered. She couldn't figure out what happened. As she was going back, she said, but how is it that you're my son? And then he turned back into Krishna. And he said, I told you not to tell my mother. If you do that again, if you ever try to do that again, I'll make your husband the thief. So anyway, it's a pastime, Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Okay, so that was really nice. So Arjuna's beginning his prayers to Krishna as universal form, and these are one of my favorite prayers actually, and they're very very interesting. And the Sanskrit's very beautiful. So as Prabhupada mentions, and it explained in the verse that Arjuna is going to change his mood towards Krishna from this out of friendship, personal, more informal, to very formal and one of awe and reverence, where awe and reverence is overcome by any informality or intimate rasas. And this is the special feature of Krishna, is that one can have these rasas with him, these sweet, loving relationships, and conjugal rasa. Dasya rasa is friendship, and Sakya rasa and Vatsalya rasa. And the relationship is one characterized by sweetness or madhurya. So this is one of the 4 qualities of Krishna which no other Vishnu Tattva expansion or Jiva Tattva has, which is having these very intimate, loving relationships. So in the Krishna Loka, the inhabitants there are in one of these relationships with Krishna. And so, as we've heard before as well, that it's explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the conjugal relationship, or the Madhurya relationship, is the highest because it involves all the other rasas within it. So all the rasas are grounded in Dasya rasa. After Dasya rasa, Sakya, friendship, parental, Vatsalya, and then Madhurya. They're all founded, the foundation of it is Dasya rasa, which is servitude, service. And therefore, everybody in that abode of Krishna they're all thinking how to serve and please Krishna to their best ability, their best understanding, or best motivation, inspiration to please Krishna. So for us, we're actually, especially in deity worship, we're supposed to, and that's what we're doing all the time, we're supposed to have this sort of reverential mood towards the deity form, towards the deity form and form of the books, and also towards the holy name. So we have to start there, because as neophytes and conditioned souls, we're not so advanced to be able to, we're not so free from sense gratification and desire to enjoy the senses. And therefore, if we try to act too informal or act too intimate with the deity form or with the holy name, or whatever, then we're subject to make offenses, because we're so conditioned from the material world in these other rasas, right? When we experience these rasas in the material world, our habits and motivations were based off of sense gratification. So then we may try to bring that, subtly, subconsciously, it will be brought into those relationships if we try to go there too soon. So that's why it's recommended to have more awe and reverential mood towards the deity, towards devotional service practices, because of that fact that we may become a sahaja, which means that we may think that we have a very personal connection with Krishna, and then to the extent that people dress like Krishna, and I mean this happens more so in India, but Prabhupada explains that it's something to be careful of. Is some people may dress up as Krishna and then claim that they have gopis and all this, but it's all just material love or material sex desire. Sorry, my voice is, I don't know what happened. I think it's these incense. So my voice is, it's shot now. So I'm trying to speak slower so I can actually maintain my voice. Please tolerate, as you all do so nicely. Okay, so does that make sense? I mean, it's all pretty clear about how we should act towards the deity and towards scripture, like the books, the deity forms, the various paraphernalia. It should all be at a very awe and reverential mood. And then we're safeguarding ourselves from our contaminated state of consciousness. So, but with our relationship with devotees, we have certain rasas with them. We may be more like a friend to one, or more like a parent, like more of a father or a mother to another. And these are just the natural relationships that we have with people. And there might be some elements of previous conditioning. It has to be purified, but what can we do? We're conditioned, conditioned souls. So it's just, we have to just follow a process to purify ourselves from these things. And then we can experience freedom and real connection with parts and parcels of Krishna, and connection with Krishna. When we free ourselves from all this material so-called baggage, all this baggage we have from the material world, from millions of lifetimes. And what to speak of just this lifetime, we have so much baggage that we're carrying, right? It's kind of crazy. So, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And that is that following this bhakti yoga, then we can actually become closer to that light, which is just a metaphor. The light is Krishna consciousness and freedom, right? But now we're in a dark place, We're going towards the light, but it's dark, we don't want to be here, but things may try to grab at us while we're trying to get out, material desires, but it's there. The light is there. It's just a matter of time before we get purified. And once we come closer to the light, then it, becomes more apparent to us, our conditioned state of existence, and we get to experience more of our liberated state, or state of freedom. I was reading this, it was a quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's in the Namamrita, the compilation of quotes about the holy name of the Lord. And it's kind of in this connection of material existence and the sufferings involved. But basically, it was a verse, and it was explained that the suffering of material existence, the happiness, the distress, it's all caused by simply the mind. simply the mind is causing our material distress, in this and struggle in the material world. But when we purify our mind, then we can actually achieve peace here in the material world, even. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport explains that, yes, the mind is the cause of the suffering in the material world. So therefore, it is very important to take to the process of hearing very seriously. Hearing, this is my purport, if I could call it that, is that when we hear about Krishna, then we're filling our mind with information about Krishna, right? But if we're hearing about other things that aren't connected to Krishna, everything is ultimately connected with Krishna. But if we're hearing about other things and we're not connecting it to Krishna, or the reason why we're hearing it is to be separate from Krishna, then we fill our mind with material energy, material things, and then the mind stays in this turbulent state. The struggle continues. But we hear the transcendental words of Krishna from the Vedas, from the Parampara, then that hearing process frees us from the suffering of this world. By hearing about Krishna, then remembrance comes, and kirtanam comes, or chanting comes as well, naturally. So Prabhupada also mentioned in this purport that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to chant, to spread the holy name. Like, oh, why? How is that connected to the holy name? It's a book about holy name. But here's the connection. So the connection is that in the purport, Prabhupada mentioned that also Lord Chaitanya came to share this chanting, this congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And along with the process of hearing and chanting, then the mind will become cleansed, properly cleansed. And then one will achieve real peace, real satisfaction. So both processes are needed. So it's typically stated that we hear Shravanam and we chant Kirtanam, and then naturally what follows is Smaranam, or remembrance of Krishna. Because that is what we're actually after, right? Is remembering Krishna, right? That's what it's about. Do you guys agree? Smaranam, remembrance of Krishna. Because we can chant Hare Krishna for millions of births, but actually, if we're chanting offenseless, then we'll not become liberated. We'll not become Krishna conscious. So that means that we are creating offense, so we're not actually able to properly hear and remember Krishna and be Krishna conscious and think about Krishna. One may be chanting for material motives, sense gratification, prestige, honor, fame, fortune, knowledge. So many motives to, perform devotional service in the wrong way. And we're conditioned by that, right? Because we were trying to do activities in the material world for a certain motive, certain purpose, mostly to enjoy our senses in some way or other, subtle or more apparent. But that is the underlying motivation behind any material activity, is this enjoyment spirit, desire to have some result that you can actually enjoy materially. But it never left us happy therefore we're here trying, we've experienced some happiness in Krishna consciousness, and now we're trying to revert that conditioning from enjoyment to chanting just simply to please Krishna. It's kind of hard to have that motivation, right? It's like you're always chanting. When you're chanting, you're always in the mood of wanting just to please Krishna. Maybe some people have that often, but more so we become motivated like, oh, this is something I have to do, something that I need to do just to get it done, or I'm not really feeling it, or I'm tired, but I'm just doing it. I'm just trying to stay awake somehow, or I'm just trying to hear the mantra, that's very nice. But the pure devotees, they're not motivated by all these things. Their main motivation is simply one of just giving Krishna pleasure, right? It's something that's unfathomable to me, because I don't think that I've ever been that selfless with any activity that I've done. Maybe there are some glimpses there, but it always turns into something for myself, right? Like, oh, yeah, I want to cook this feast I want to serve Krishna by cooking this feast. But then I'm cooking in the process, like it might start off in a good intention, but then in the process, I might be thinking, well, yeah, this will be good to enjoy later. These pakoras, wow, yeah, they're frying so nicely. Okay, let me leave it there a little longer so that, it'll be crispy. So then when I have it later, it'll be crispy. So these are the contaminations, But somehow or other, the pure devotees, they're in the state the whole time of like, instead of thinking that it's going to be crispy so that I can eat it later and it be crispy and nice, they're thinking, let it be crisp. I want to make it crispy so that Krishna will like it being crispy. So there's some way to go to get there. So yeah, that's something that is very inconceivable to me, that somebody can be so pure that, every moment they're just wanting to just please Krishna in the purest way possible, most selfless way. So if somebody wants to be selfless, then Krishna consciousness is the only way to do it. Because all the other paths of yoga, they're all trying to achieve something, whether it's fruit of result, like whether it's going to the heavenly planets, enjoying their senses like crazy, or it's gaining knowledge and becoming a jnani, a well-known philosopher, or a mystic yogi even wants to enjoy manipulating the material elements, right? Wouldn't it be cool if you can just grab anything from any part of the world? You can have this property city. I could be sitting here and grab gold or something from a bank somewhere. I don't know where gold is stored these days, but grab gold from somewhere and just bring it here. Would that be cool? Really? What are you going to do with the gold? The Bhagavatam says gold is yellow stool. So what are you going to do with your yellow stool? Serve Krishna, yeah. You might get in trouble though, because somebody might find out that you stole gold. Yeah, anyway, so that's the thing is, so okay, that's a good point. If one wants this gold to serve Krishna, but they have to use their yogic powers to do it, is that really what Krishna wants? So the Bhakti Yoga is only interested in doing what Krishna wants, and Krishna will supply the mystic powers to perform your service. So that is still the pure process. So, yes. So we're trying to cultivate that mentality where we're just wanting to do things just to simply please Krishna. But it is eventually we find out inside, introspect that there is something behind this interaction of service that I'm holding on to. For example, the Pakora example. Holding on to this desire inside that I'm going to enjoy it versus not even thinking about that, but just thinking about how Krishna will be and enjoy it, how Krishna will enjoy. So it's a practice also. So therefore we have association of devotees so that we can practice being selfless. And in that practice, giving gifts to devotees out of charity is one of the loving exchanges. Serving prasad to the devotees, we might be more on the platform of, let me make, this pakora so that the devotees will eat nicely the pakoras later on. Or, yes, deity worship is very helpful for this, because if one maintains a mood of awe and reverence towards the deity, then you perform so many different personal services to the deity, which more or less, don't really give you any pleasure, any, at least external, obvious sense gratification. Like, for example, one bathes the deity with water and oils in this archana process in the morning, and what are you gonna enjoy materially out of that? So it's actually a very selfless service. Of course, one may also dress the deity and perform that nice personal service to the Lord, but in their mind they're thinking that they want some appreciation for it. So then it becomes some give and take service instead of just give. So anyway, if you want to practice being selfless, then serve the devotees and offer things to Krishna, which you have, and try to do it as selflessly as possible. So by hearing, the process of hearing from these examples, like Arjuna and the various personalities in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the pure devotees, then we get the standard of how to serve the Lord, and perform so many various services simply to please Krishna. So this is the amazing thing is Lord Chaitanya has opened up this worship of Krishna in the spiritual world, in Krishna Loka, and understanding the variety of rasas that are going on there. But it's not necessary that we get into all the intricacies of them, because we won't be able to understand properly. But it is there in the Nectar of Devotion. It explains them very scientifically and different examples of the different rasas. So we can study them, from that authorized scripture. But we just want to be careful about our own conditioning coming into play when we hear about these pastimes. Okay. Any comments or questions? We had a hand up first over here. Rishi Kumar. What's that?
We have a question from upstairs.
From upstairs.
It says Maharaj, but I think it means eternal. Since the spiritual master is a direct representative of Krishna, does the rasa of our relationship with the spiritual master reflect directly one's relationship with Krishna?
Interesting question. I've actually asked this before. One's relationship with Krishna will become revealed through the process of devotional service. Eventually, it will become clear to us, but it may differ from certain rasas we have with the spiritual master. Right? So, I can't necessarily answer so authoritatively on this question. But what I can say is, it's not really necessary to know, but the necessary thing is that we get there through the process of devotional service. Gradually becomes revealed what our Sarup is. But that will take some time to get there. So, yes, Bhakti Jacob?
Hare Krishna, thanks for your nice class, Prabhu. My question is, how does one go from chanting offense with offenses, nambas, to chanting without offenses, shudanam, right? Shudanam? Shudanam.
Yes, pure chanting. Well, we have to study the offenses, the 10 offenses, and it's not just happening when we're chanting, but it's happening throughout the day and in our life, right? So we have to study the 10 offenses and try to avoid them. But we might be unconsciously making offenses. So what to do? Well, it was explained to me by my Sankirtan leader, which very nice advanced devotee, that we have to simply become so focused in hearing and chanting where we're just, absorbed in hearing the mantra without any thoughts, without energizing any sort of contemplations. So his point of view, especially because in the 10th offense, it says that, or it's explained that the root of all the offenses is inattention, really, with our chanting. So if we're so minutely attentive with our chanting, which means we're no thoughts are being brought into the mind which are distracting us for a millisecond. We're just completely focused. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're totally engrossed in that activity of simply hearing and chanting. Then we're moving into that. We're moving into that clearing stage, the namabhas. So that's a practical understanding. So when you're in that, and that's why he would always advise us to chant louder, chant audibly, and put a lot of emphasis on the words, put a lot of energy behind the words. It's kind of like a subtle thing, meaning what I'm saying now has some energy, right? If I say Hare Krishna, that has a certain energy. If I say Hare Krishna, you feel the difference? It's kind of an intuitive thing. Hare Krishna versus Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So there's a difference of energy output. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So one energy output can absorb your mind more than the other, right? So you have to find out how your mind is being absorbed with what energy output you're giving to chanting. So if I'm just like Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, or I'm like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's a big difference. So that was what he taught us. I thought that was really helpful. And I may not always be able to do that, like Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But but that is that's the ideal, is to be just totally learning how to keep your mind absorbed and focused by, and you might have to shift your energy output with the emphasis of the mantra, the different words of the mantra, which gives more attention. So that is some points about trying to go into the clearing stage practically, and then gradually we're moving into the offenseless chanting. Okay, thank you very much for coming, listening. It's all devotional service is all voluntary, so nobody has to force you to perform devotional service, although sometimes we may need some force. But thank you for voluntarily serving Krishna. Haribol, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol.